Hi everyone, my name is Yasuyoshi Chiba. I'm from Japan, and thank you for inviting me to speak up here. Since I'm a Japanese, I hope you allow me to use my universal language, photography. So if you don't understand, it's okay. I think you'll be fine. Okay. Well, today I want to show you my work in Ethiopia. Actually, it's related to Ethiopia. I shot in Sudan and Ethiopia twice because it's still ongoing news. It's called, we call it Ethiopia Northern War. So one thing I want to explain about the behind of this story. About 2 years ago, Ethiopia federal government tried to postpone, decided to postpone their general election. But there is a Tigray regional government in the northern region of Ethiopia. They decided to force to do election as a scheduled. So they did in September 2 years ago. And then after 2 months, the war started between the Tigray government. It's called Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and federal government. So this is a place where the river runs. It's a border between Sudan and Ethiopia. So these boys are on top of the rocks, should be Ethiopian side, and then my side is a Sudan side. Because of the war, the people are fled crossing the river. So it's a very hot place. This woman is waiting for the registration, or maybe after the registration, because she has a wristband. So lots of people are coming across the border every day. And these families just arrived. And since they just arrived, no tents, but they just start cooking, survive. By the way, I forgot to mention, these pictures are taken by only one camera and one lens, which is GFX 100 and 50 millimeter. And no trimming. It's all as it is. And it's hot daytime, but it's very cold and windy during the night. So these people try to get tarpaulin, like a plastic seat. So people need to build their own house that time because it's initial time. And later, the UN agencies try to build for them the shelters. So this is a kind of a beginning of set up the refugee camp, and this is a sunset. And I thought that this is just the initial time of the refugee camp, but it wasn't, because during the mid-80s, there was a famine next to Ethiopia, and then this region, lots of, like 1 million people fled into this place. So actually they reopened the refugee camp. And on Sunday we went to the church next because we heard that the church having a ceremony, Sunday prayer. And actually this church was built by the refugees in 80s, and then this time they also reopened the church a week ago. So this is the makeshift school set up by an international NGO. And this time, according to the UN agency, 45% of refugees were children. And also you see the teachers behind, he's also a refugee. So every several days, those convoy arrived to the refugee camp from the border. It was around 10 buses in total. And this woman, mother of two, she was looking for her younger brother. And so this was the last bus she checked. And after she checked inside, started crying. So she's checking every time the bus convoys arrives for like 1 month. So that was end of the year 2020, and I had the chance to go back to Ethiopia, Tigray region, where those refugees came from last year in June, because the postponed elections was planned on June 21st. So we had a team to cover these elections. And during the time, I offered my office, why can I cover the Tigray region? Because they did it already, so there are no elections. So I said, let me go to this place to see how their life is. So this is, so I went to the Mekele, which is a capital city of this region, Tigray region. And this is a kind of outskirt of Mekele. And there was an abundant Ethiopian army tank was there. So as you see, it's very, very rural area. So what I did was just following the humanitarian activities since there's no elections. So while my colleagues are covering elections, voting, counting, I was just following what they were doing in Mekele. So this is a warehouse of a local NGO, and the oil cans, it's a damaged oil can, are put on the floors. So I went to one school, secondary school, and this time all the public schools in Mekele city were turned to refugee camps. So every classrooms, they hosted all the refugees. And I met this woman. Obviously, it's a very tattoo is showing that she's a believer of Orthodox church, Christian church. So you see, this is a 4-story building, and each classroom has a group of people live. And then every meal time, they come down to receive their food. So one night, I decided to stay with them overnight. And this is the moment before the sun rising. Because among the refugees, there were some religious monks. So they start singing in the morning. So that's why I woke up. And every morning, the woman clean up the stairs because the toilet, the facilities are outside. And during the night, the old people, especially elders, they don't want to go outside, so they do on the stairs. So it was really smelly. It doesn't show through the pictures, but that's how they clean every morning. So it was just a 5 days scheduled trip for me, and this was kind of a last day. I was about flying out back to the Addis on this day. And then some breaking news happened. I heard a rumor that there was an airstrike nearby the city, nearby the North City, nearby the market. So I decided to postpone my flight and then stay a little bit longer to see how the situation will develop. So later the day, the first injured people arrived to the hospital. Also next day, this is the next day, more patients coming in, and this is a woman who injured her knees, and the 2 hospital staff holding a baby and then also breastfeeding helping. Since too many patients, they're using a bench at the entrance hall. And this is a mother of 12 years old because the daughter actually lost her right arm by the airstrike. So after this coverage, I think for me it's a time to go back to Addis again. So we decided to book the flight again, but somehow our flights are all canceled because of the airstrike. the commercial flights are all suspended. So we didn't know how to go back to Addis. And 2 days later, suddenly people start excited and start shouting, screaming, because until then, the capital city was controlled by federal government. And over the night, the bloodless transition was happened. So all the soldiers by the government went out, and instead all the soldiers who fought around the Tigray regions about 8 months returned to the capital city unexpectedly. So from the day after, the people are so excited, and they came filled in the street and welcoming all the soldiers coming back in different means, by trucks and then by walking. So people appreciate every soldiers, and soldiers were given foods and also compliments. They came back, but next day they start walking to another field. That time, this place was surrounded by war fronts, so there was no way out. Even for us, there's no way to go out by road. And when the Ethiopian armies went out and then the Tigray army came in, all electricity and also the mobile phone networks, internet, were all shut it down. So people gather this place, it's a cafeteria, to see the information, because they also only had a TV by the generator. But despite those blackouts, the people are so happy. This is a traditional coffee ceremony, and then this woman invited the soldiers when they walked past by. So it was a surprise returning, but we really wanted to go back to Addis. But still, at this moment, there was no means to go back. And only the chance could be waiting for a humanitarian flight or UN people's convoy. They are trying to planning to go out by road to negotiate with the next neighboring government, local government, to secure the route to escape. So when I was in a UN compound to negotiate or waiting for the reply, where and when can we go back to Addis, I was informed that captive soldiers came back. So I rushed to there by motorbike, but I was following from the behind. I mean, the end of this group, I couldn't, it was taking so long time to come to the front. The soldier told me that it's like 7,000 soldiers, Ethiopian soldiers, came here by walking 4 days from the war front line. When I saw this, I really want to tell that those soldiers are still alive, because they were also in the field more than 8 months without communication to their families. So I tried to capture all the faces as much as possible. I printed this picture into a 2-meter with big print, and that print shows all the faces until the very end. So they were heading to jail. So finally they arrived to the jail, and they were divided into 2 groups, women and men. I saw their faces, tired, but I saw that they didn't know what's going to happen. I took these pictures to see how they could be treated in the future. So this is the pictures I stitched, the portrait which soldiers asked me to take in the morning before they left to another field. So my coverage was planned 5 days, but it ended 2 weeks. But it was only 2 weeks, but so many things happened. And since then, I could escape by UN convoy to the eastern side and go back to my place, my home. But until now, I couldn't reach to my friend in Tigray. The still communication blackout has continued, and then they start re-fighting again recently. UN said 90% of population are still in need of humanitarian aid. So this is the kind of work we do, and I really wanted to tell that our work is not only this kind of hard news, but a variety of news topics. But this kind of a hard work, hard topic, is always remind me inside my mind. And every time I cover this kind of work, I feel a responsibility to tell this story to the world. And I hope these soldiers and those captive soldiers are treated well and still alive. Well, thank you so much for seeing this.